Graham's in the chat. Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Spurs Diehards, Tottenham Till I Die. Our Lord and Master Adrian put on an announcement about 6 hours ago, not expecting much in the way of Spurs news during the international break. We, however, shall broadcast Friday the 5th of September, but not necessarily on Sunday 7th September or Tuesday 9th September, but we'll definitely be back to preview West Ham. Well, nothing like a good news story to get right in the way of that. And tonight we will be analysing what we can and making sense of the news that Daniel Levy has left the club. Welcome to one of our regulars. You're on mute, Tom, by the way. So, but regular to Zookeeper Tom. Good evening, Tom. How are you?
Hello. Yes, all good.
Very good. And to our Lord and Master Adrian. Good evening.
I just love wallowing in mud recently. You know, it just seems to be attracted to me. You know, it's supposed to be good for the skin, though. You know what I mean? So I'm fine. Like I said, I posted. I thought, because me and him were discussing it. Tom's a fellow admin in the group as well. And we were thinking like, well, there isn't much happening. And so I said, well, Ian said it will skip Sunday. I said I'll skip Tuesday. Those shows are still cancelled unless even more news breaks, probably.
Yeah.
We said we'd do tomorrow, but like we have to keep you guys informed and give you our take on things. I know there's lots of other podcasts doing the same thing. So we've come out at our usual time and give them a head start on us at 10 o'clock. So anyway, with that,
let's see where we take it. Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, let's. I'm just gonna say hi to some of our supporters. Graham, evening, gents. Never a dull day. You just might say that. Blaine. Good evening, Blaine. Evening, everyone. As Levy going now raised 7 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 window. Will there be a minority stake sold by Daniel? Will Adrian be returning with the dressing gown anytime soon? Stay tuned. We are going to cover that. Ben, in his inimitable way, any news? Nothing at all, Ben.
Ben's the mod master. He's mod on so many channels. It's unreal. Ben's a mod master.
Ben, we were just sitting around saying, anyone got anything to do tonight now? So we thought, what we better do, let's just go online and see if anything happens tonight. Nita's with us. Good evening, Nita.
Good evening, Nita.
And Rackets Madness. The summer window
Alan,
keeps giving. Yeah, good evening. Right, Tom, let's first of all go through that statement. So, can you bring it out? Tottenham Hotspur announces that Daniel Levy has today stepped down from his role as executive chairman after nearly 25 years. Tottenham Hotspur has been transformed even over the last quarter of a century. It has played in European competitions in the last 18 of 20 seasons, becoming the world's most recognised football clubs, consistently investing in its academy, players and facilities, including a new world-class new class stadium and state-of-the-art training centre. The club has also competed regularly at the highest levels. As part of the succession planning, the club has made a number of senior appointments in recent months. Vinay Venkatesham was hired as Chief Executive Officer, with Thomas Frank as our new men's head coach, and Martin Ho as the women's head coach. Peter Charrington joined the board and will step into a newly created role of non-executive chairman. It's all part of the club's ambition to ensure that it is set up to deliver long-term sporting success. Tom, did this news catch you by surprise or what?
Oh, massively. I mean, I was just going about my business. I got home. I was just like, yeah, I'll just go and have a shower after a day of work. And then all of a sudden, got a message from you saying, "Oh my effing God." And I was like, I thought you were saying that over the price my dad had quoted.
This was on the ticket site, a little sub-ticket site, yeah. Your dad wanted 51 quid for a Villa ticket.
So I was like, oh, just being funny. And then all of a sudden, Brad was going, "No, it's legit." And I was like, "What's legit?" And then, yeah. This is, do you know what? It was funny because obviously it all sort of kicked off around end of June, mid-July, with all the news coming out with Donna Cullen leaving and all of this. It was all floating around, and then it just suddenly went completely quiet. Ironically, after the Morgan Gibbs White deal kind of all fell through, and then just stayed quiet for ages and ages and ages and ages. Transfer window ends, and we're all thinking, well, it all feels like it's still the same, and then boom. Levy's gone. Ish.
As ever, I need to make a big thank you. Blaine, sir, thank you.
Yeah, big up, Blaine.
Can't thank people enough for the support they're giving us. A new channel, a fledgling channel, but a fast-growing one. So thank you. Adrian, yourself? I mean, this was just a bolt out of the blue, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bolt out of blue. It gives us something to do this week. keeps the podcast going, doesn't it? When you get, I mean, never a dull moment with Spurs. Yeah, I mean, well, sure, we'll get into it. All right, he stepped down. We've had all these sort of rumours from the beginning of the season, and the fact we spent more money than we normally do, or brought in quality players that we brought in for walking the team. Got Romero signed up on 4, brought in Danso and Spencer signed a long contract. You know, we've never had so much positive around the football inside the club. But then this happens, and we were all smelling like, oh, we're going to get investment. But I don't think any of us envisaged like Levy stepping down this soon, maybe at the end of the season, or once we'd actually got an investor in or something like that. So whether this is like him stepping down as a precursor for exciting news, we wait and see.
There's been, when you say exciting news, because I do want to dissect this, and having had a few hours now to examine it, I'm starting to think I know where this is going, but people have different views. When you talk about exciting news, Adrian, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking investment. I'm not thinking of a complete takeover of the club, because that's more complex to do. You've got 30,000 small shareholders who own 18% of the club, and the rest is owned by ENIC. Levy owns 29.88% or something. He's a billionaire in his own right. So, yeah. So if someone comes in, I've always been more on the idea that it'll be an investment as part of a phased buyout and then overall control, because I don't see if anyone buys into this club. I just don't see Levy or ENIC selling all their shares stake in the club. I mean, if you remember, Sugar didn't do it. He held on to his shares for quite a while before he sold them, took them to go. So, and I think, and you have to look at the club. I mean, there's still a lot of growth to be had there. I mean, you've got an estimated 34 million Spurs fans worldwide. They won't all be rich or wealthy people, but it's still a massive gold mine to tap into with your sponsors, shirt sales, TV, TV subscriptions and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, this club it's not reached its wealthiest benchmark yet by a long shot.
Tom, are you in agreement with Adrian that this is a precursor to long-term investment? Because I was thinking that 4 or 5 hours ago, and I'm now not thinking it for reasons that I'm going to go on and explain, but we will discuss it. I know that people in the chat will have a view too that we'd like to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it was initially when it come out, I was thinking, yeah, it was basically a precursor to some form of either complete and utter buyout or at least some minority kind of investment or minority stakehold in the club. It was starting to get quite widely reported that Daniel Levy was almost kind of, preventing any sale from actually happening by doing typical Levy things of moving the goalposts once things were agreed and stuff. So I just wonder if the Lewis family, now it's in a trust rather than just under Joe Lewis, was starting to get a bit fed up with that. I mean, obviously there's stuff that's been kind of leaking out since that the Lewis family really want to continue with the club and see it move on to success and stuff. So the thing is, I wouldn't have an issue with that as long as we see the money that the club's earning actually being put back into the football team. I don't really care where the money comes from. It would be great if we could do it in a way that isn't, kind of finding loopholes and cheating the system and stuff like that, like some other clubs are kind of doing, or bankrolling it or anything like that. But like, we earn a lot of money. Let's put it back into the team and let's give people who know football the power to make footballing decisions, which with all the separate people who are now seemingly running their set areas, with potentially Paratici coming back in a few weeks' time or whatever, it looks like that's the way that it's definitely going. Money men doing the money stuff, football men doing the football stuff. It could be really
I've heard a suggestion tonight that Paratici is very much a Levy man, and it might be an indication of the change in the power structure at Tottenham if Paratici doesn't come to the club.
He can still be a consultant, whether he's with the club or not. I don't see that's a big deal. I mean, he's done well with signings, but so has Yang Lang, and he's took a lot of stick because, there were so many pot shots at all aspects of the club because we finished 17th last season. But I was wondering whether part of us not getting any previous investment, I'd like to hear your guys' take on it, is because there's probably a big difference. A big difference between Levy's valuation of the club and what others think the club should be valued at, and therefore that may have deterred investors.
Well, I certainly saw something today that they value the club at 4 billion, which is a significantly more realistic level than the 6 billion that's been mooted. I mean, the thing is, I'm always wary about not believing everything I read in the newspapers because you hear this, you hear that. But Tom, can we come back to? I'm going to just quickly say hi to a couple more people in the chat because my daughter's there as well. So, evening, lads. Great panel. Of course, it's a great panel. Me, Adrian, and Tom are here.
3 admins.
I mean, what else do you want? We are Spurs TV. Yeah, Paul Brown. Good evening. And Ben, I don't know if I've said hello to Ben. Tottenham on tour, I presume that is hit 11k this week. And Levy goes, maybe 11k was the magic number. Yeah, in fact, I'll say that we're not quite as big as Tottenham on tour. We haven't been going as long either. But I think we're about 10 short of 1,500 subscribers. So if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please do, because that's helping us enormously. We're about 10 short. Natalie Meth, that's another long-suffering Spurs supporter, my younger daughter. You've all seen Louis on here as well, my grandson, but not her daughter, my other daughter's son, rather. And Talk and Ball Colin from Indiana. I think that was Blaine that got you the membership, Colin. But welcome to the show, sir. A couple of saying hi to each other. I don't want to take too long with this.
If you've been given a membership, thanks Super Spurs TV. Thanks Super Spurs TV. That's Blaine. Very generous. We admire his generosity of spirit.
Yeah. This is an interesting point, which I'm going to maybe leave that there. But the Lewis family, because we're going to talk about the Lewis family. Let me just take that off, so can see your face properly as well, Tom. Tom, can we bring up that other statement, because there was something that came out tonight. Thank you. This is on BBC Sports. It's been followed by one or two people. Matt Law seems to be have a similar story in the Telegraph as well. BBC Sport understands that the hierarchical changes over the past few months have led to today's announcement. It is understood that the role of executive chairman will be removed with a view to modernising the board structure. Well, okay, Daniel, you're redundant. The Lewis family have been at the forefront of these changes, including the decision regarding Levy. Levy will remain a shareholder of ENIC, but will cease to have any direct involvement with the club. The share structure of ENIC will remain unchanged. This is going with this investment. The Lewises initiated a thorough external review of Tottenham's operation earlier this year, and well-placed sources told BBC Sport that followed a number of concerns from the Tavistock Group. The Tavistock Group is ENIC. That's they're the ultimate controllers of ENIC and Tottenham, the ultimate parent. The financial operation of the club was among the areas reviewed. It is also understood the ownership made a significant investment into the club over the last few months, which has helped Spurs in the transfer market. The review resulted in the aforementioned board changes, including the appointments of Charrington and Venkatesham. Now, let's try and dissect that, because I think there's a lot in that. This review, apparently, Matt Law does a fair bit on this, was carried out by Gibb River, who are an American-based, I think, consultancy. And I'm wondering, Tom, let's bring you in first. If that was starting to show some of Levy's conservatism, his failures in the transfer market, was starting to be exposed.
Yeah, I definitely think it would have been. I mean, the thing with Levy is especially when it comes to the football side, he was very risk averse, wasn't he? He never really wanted to take a risk, and then when he did kind of take a risk, it was always the wrong one to take. It just all, you can't really ever say that he ever had a transfer where he spent big money that went well. I'm trying to think who's the player that we spent the most money on that ended up being like a success, and I'm really struggling to think of any because that's how bad it's been. Like, when it comes to that, but he has also been risk averse. Like, we still, as a top six, club, the big six cartel, as we sometimes get lumped in, we still haven't spent more than 60 million on a player. Yet all the other big six have spent upwards of 100 million on a player. So, I'm not saying that we should be spending 100 million on players, but we're just nowhere near. Like, that 40 million difference is a big difference, right?
In terms of quality, yeah.
In terms of quality, yeah, like going from 100 million down to 60 million is way more significant than going from a 60 million player down to a 20 million player. Like that, it just is. And yeah, it's Romero, someone's put in there, is probably the last player we bought for a significant amount of money, 40 odd million, where you would say it was kind of like a success in some ways. So yeah, probably Romero.
So I pulled the wrong one up there, Tom. Yeah.
So
yeah,
but that's it. Like aside from that, can you think of many players who spent over 40 million on that ended up being a success? So I think this is one of the things. It's not been a case of we haven't necessarily spent the money. It's just we seem to always spend it poorly. And is that because we haven't been doing our due diligence properly on these players, which then comes back to what is being put in place by the chairman in the first place? Like the fact that we wanted Ndombele the year before we got him. A whole year went, no other team came in for him. Then Spurs managed to get him. And then lo and behold, 6 months later, he turns out to be one of the laziest gits you've ever met in your life, like when it comes to football. So it's like, well, clearly, yeah, he's a talented footballer. And based on his talent, he was worth 60 million. But based on his work ethic, he wasn't worth one. So I think, yeah, if they have done a deep dive into the business side of things, I think money making wise, he's done a good job. But actually, I think he could have done an even better job if Tottenham had been winning trophies regularly. I'm not being funny, but look at that trophy parade when we won the Europa League. How many people were there? How many people were behind Spurs? And, if you had more of that, you'd have more coming into the club because of that success. Yes, okay, you've got your Formula One track. Yes, you've got your Skywalk and everything like that. But, it's the fans coming in regularly and being there that brings in the big bucks, right? So,
yeah. I mean, Adrian, that parade and the winning of the trophy seemed to give Levy a real lift. And then you saw that thing on the stage when he and Vinay saying we wanted to challenge for the league and we want to challenge for the Champions League. Was it just all a little bit too little too late for him, do you think?
Yeah, I think things have moved quickly behind the scenes. I think he meant that, and he thought he'd probably see the season out. But things have moved at pace, so we don't know. We can only speculate on what's going on, but behind the scenes, I mean, Enoch could decide to put money into the club themselves because their equity's grown so much in value that they could put some money back. But they're an investment company, aren't they? It's the English National Investment Company. They invest rather than throw money at things. I mean, if I was pinned down, I smell a naming rights deal, which would just pay the interest on our debt and investment. But maybe this was part of it now. Maybe it's close because you could say, right, investors will come in. We're only coming in if Levy goes, or whatever. I mean, I don't know. We don't know. I'm sure this story's run and run.
Certainly that statement appears to suggest that there are, at least in the short term, no changes envisaged in the ownership of the shares in the short term. I'm not saying it won't happen.
But if the BBC are right here, the thing that catch my eye, it says, and how they can be this accurate, we don't know as yet. We know he stood down. Levy will remain shareholder of Enoch, but will cease to have any direct involvement with the club. I mean, wouldn't you keep him to do all these buildings and stuff like that? I mean, that would make sense, but that's why I'm alluding to the fact, well, if there's an investor coming in, we'll come and we'll put the money in, but Levy's got to go. Have no involvement with the club whatsoever. That's what I'm pinning my theory on. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but
Levy owns 28% of the company. He can't be compelled. I mean, there are I did try and get Kieran Maguire back on the show tonight. I did try, but he's away with it. He did message me back to say he's away with his wife because he would have given me better knowledge on this. But I mean, Daniel Levy cannot be compelled to sell his shares.
No,
and it seems to me that they just told him over the last couple of days, you're gone. We'll worry about the details. And it might be he'll take on the property side of the business, but certainly from the football side, he'll have no involvement at all. But I'm looking at this now and starting to think, has this all been part of a long-term strategy by Tavistock? And that's looking back now. Tom, maybe I'll bring you in first. I always thought there was something not quite right about this, and I did say this on a stream when Donna Cullen left, because she was very much. I mean, even going back when she was just she wasn't an executive assistant, but she certainly wasn't a director. When Harry Redknapp was going to trial every day, and she was at his side, that he was very much she was very much Daniel Levy's right-hand woman. And I just think now, and the more you look back on it, it makes sense that was the first sign that Levy's legs were being cut from him, slowly but surely, Tom.
Yeah, 100%. But this is what happens when you surround yourself with yes men, right? Levy seemed to only want yes men on his board, because you look at the people that challenged him, and through the times of when we were actually good, are people like Paul Barber, who has now gone to Brighton, and look what he's starting to achieve there, right?
Yeah.
He was one of the few people that used to challenge Levy on things. And that was when the club were making some pretty good signings in your forms of your Dele Allis and things along the lines of that, right? I'm not saying it was all down to Paul Barber, but you had people that were challenging Levy. I think Levy got to a point where he didn't. I think he got to a point where he didn't like it, and therefore he just surrounded himself with yes men, and that's where we kind of got to this point where we stagnated. Like, look, my view on Levy is I am grateful for where he's put us in the pecking order of the league, but it really felt like he took us as far as he could. Like he got us to a point in sort of the mid 2010s where we were a regular top 4, regular top 6 side. We broke into that. We made that top 4 a top 6 through that time, and he is responsible for getting us there and putting us in a financial position where we were able to self-sustain, and we still can self-sustain and thrive. But he just clearly in the last 10 years had shown he had not got what it took to take Spurs to that next level. And I think that was probably because he surrounded himself with yes men, who were just like, yes, Mr. Levy, you're right, Mr. Levy, and that was it. And that just gave him that ego of like everything he does is right and everything he does is great. I mean, I wonder if you were saying about I wonder if the cup win came a little bit too late and stuff like that. I wonder if actually the fact that we nearly got relegated was enough for the Lewis family to suddenly go, shit, like we can't just guarantee that we're always going to be in the Premier League and everything like that. But there's a few comments in here that have sort of said, oh, Levy was working with what he was provided with, blah 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 blah. But that was when Joe Lewis was in charge. Joe Lewis ain't in charge of it now. The Lewis family are in charge of it now. And if they're as invested in Tottenham Hotspur as what these reports are saying they are, that they want us to win, then I think with the old guard going, new guard coming in, and hopefully some more finances coming in, we really could see like a big change with the club. But it is it's one of those knife edge moments, it feels like, because it could go one way or the other. It's one of those things of always be careful what you wish for, because when you actually get it, is it what you always wanted? But I think because of the work Levy done as chairman to put us in a self-sustaining financial position, I think you would have to be pretty bad at football and business to screw up Tottenham Hotspur from this position that we're in.
Adrian, we had the Donna Cullen news, and around the same time we had the appointment of Peter Charrington and Vinay Venkatesham. Charrington is based in the Bahamas. He is very much a Lewis family man.
Yeah,
and it would appear as well that Vinay was along those lines too. And if Vinay, it would appear, he hasn't been given a title, but he's effectively going to be the CEO, I think, of the club. Peter Charrington's going to be the non-executive chairman, but the day-to-day chief executive officer job will be carried out by Venkat. Is this something that because what it seems to me now that I look back on, since probably since maybe January, February time, maybe early in the year anyway, that the Lewis family have been saying enough is enough and we need to make changes here.
Yeah. Well, Vivian Lewis, we hear, has never got on that well with Daniel Levy, right? But Levy's made them very rich equity-wise, made the whole ENIC very rich. Charlie Lewis, the son, I think he has more to do with the other side of Joe Lewis's businesses, because Joe Lewis is 88 or 90 now or something like that.
Yeah.
And Daniel Levy's son he's got a big position in ENIC or Tavistock anyway as well.
Yeah.
Because they're all closely interrelated. But I think with Donna Cullen, I think she see the writing on the wall. She wanted to retire last year or get out last year. And Levy talked her into staying. So she's gone now, and she was a strong ally of his. So I think words about the running of the club have been ongoing for well over a year with ENIC and Levy, and that, you know, there's been friction. And it's led to this. So, which, I mean, as fans, we hope it's going to be a good thing. Look, Levy's legacy on the non-footballing side has been absolutely brilliant. There's no way you can say it hasn't been. I mean, on the footballing side, it's been poor because, like, there hasn't been the investment in the team, because all the eggs were put in the basket building the stadium and the training ground, and us fans paid for it in higher prices. We were virtually taxed, you know, to help pay and fund for the stadium, which we still got $1 billion debt if you include 660 odd million on the stadium, and like over 330 odd 7 million the last time I looked was on transfers. That's without these transfers we've done recently, which will have to get advertised and go on that as well. But people that say the stadium hasn't been a game changer, I get it when if I know they're referring to the footballing side. It hasn't. All right, we won a trophy this year, but it hasn't in that respect. It opened in 2019. It took 3 years to build, or whatever it was. But it has been a game changer in the sense that if you look at the old stadium, which had a max capacity of like 36,000, we couldn't compete with 36,000. Not with Arsenal and these other teams with much bigger stadiums. We couldn't compete with them. And what this new stadium is bringing in like £6 million a game. And it's mean we haven't paid the 250, 300 grand a week wages that some players get at other clubs. But we have paid much better wages, and we do pay, believe it or not, there are good bonuses written in Spurs contracts, even if it's harder for the players to earn them without winning something. Right? But yeah, so it has, financially, it has been a massive game changer for us. It's allowed us to compete better, but it hasn't been enough for a majority of the fan base, because we haven't won things, we haven't upped our wages for players, you know, and we haven't bought the elite players. We haven't brought elite players into this football club.
I wonder if the failure of the Eze transfer was a major factor in their thinking. That in some ways that encapsulated everything that's been wrong about Daniel Levy. For all the good things he's done, we all know that there have been some atrocious failures in the transfer market, both to sell players at top value, but more importantly, to buy when he had the opportunity. And players like Grealish would be an example. But, I mean, he procrastinated over a few quid. And eventually the guy got snapped up by Arsenal. And let's be honest, that's humiliating. Now, we may have got a better player in Xavi Simons. We may well have done at less money. But the bottom line is it was not a good look for Daniel Levy to be basically levied by Steve Parish. Yeah, it is embarrassing when that happens. And we had the fiasco of Morgan Gibbs White. So those pair were a clusterfuck, really, weren't they? They really were. I think
I don't blame the club for Morgan Gibbs White.
That's what I was going to say.
If we'd have put the money up straight away, right, you just go and get Eze. We'd have probably got him before Arsenal, even though we know he left Arsenal at 13 years of age. He was an Arsenal man, and the delay and the injury to Havertz, was it at Arsenal, got them to move. And there was only one place he was going to go, which means we wasted time in the transfer market. Yeah. Which, strangely enough, the strangest thing is I mean, this might sound a bit callous, but I'm only using it as an analogy. If Maddison doesn't get injured, we don't get Xavi Simons. We don't get him, or Kulu. We don't get him. And we probably don't get Moani as well. So we'll see. I mean, I don't wish Eze any ill will because he's gone to Arsenal. If that's where he wants to be, he's a footballer. You go, you try to do the best for yourself where you want to go. So and I like watching fantastic players, and if he does well, I'll praise him. But so I think getting Simons in and Moani, I think it's brilliant. I mean, we've got 4 walk-in signings in this club. I mean, Romero signed a 4-year deal. Danso signed up. We knew he was coming. And all. I think we've only had a net spend of about, Connor will correct me if I'm wrong, Connor, if he's watching, of about 136 million, which still thinks if we're rumoured to spend about 200 million, probably due to ENIC or whatever, or this investment coming in or whatever, then we should still be able to go big in January, which isn't an easy window to make deals in. Although we've done some great work in January, Kulu, Bentancur, Ali, Porro, and things like that. But so we should have money to spend there. So, but Levy's legacy, I think it's funny, once you've got rid of someone you dislike, hate, or whatever, or don't think a lot of, then you can look back and think, well, he has done his legacy. His legacy will be this stadium and the training ground. All right, 2 trophies you could say, well, it ain't enough over the period of time, but it's still good to win one after 40 years of not winning a European trophy. So I think his legacy will be fine. I think once he's gone, people then start to soothe their hatred for him because he's gone now. He's out the way, So, So, no, his legacy will always be there for this football club. I mean, as far as I'm concerned. Well, for me, it will be anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if Tom's in the back doing the chat because I was just about to go through the chat, but so sorry about that. Let me just go back. Just sent my great. Don't worry. Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. Just go through some of these. I say I don't know if Tom's in the back there. I know he sometimes because he's got young children may have.
Yeah, this is it. You see, he's got a young child.
Yeah, more but I mean, I don't know how true that is. I think we're going to find out a lot. We're going to talk about that. But I do wonder if it's been the Lewis family. But of course, with everything that's happened with Joe Lewis. Not least of which is his conviction for insider trading, the fact that it appears to be Vivian more than Charlie is running the football club. That I think over the next few weeks it will become clear exactly how much, because that business I did check this before we came on air is worth $7 billion or $5 billion British pounds. I mean, they can afford to invest a significant amount of money in the club if they wish to.
Yeah.
And that there is a suggestion that they do, but we'll come on to that. Tom has just said back in 5 minutes, so that's fine. We'll go back to the.
Ian, I've got a question. I mean, I asked Sean earlier. I mean,
I'm going to take that one off.
Basically, if you're worth, I mean, it's different if you're a state, country, that owns Newcastle. But what compels people to invest in football clubs? Most football clubs do not make money, right? Now, the only angle I come from is the fact that if you're an Elon Musk, reputably the richest person on the planet, or you're a company like Alphabet who own Google worth $1 trillion or something like that, I can see the point of you owning a club like Tottenham. It's a shiny new stadium, a jewel in London. It's in London. The situation's great. It's not that, I mean, you wouldn't say Tottenham's the greatest area, but the situation where it's placed is great. If you buy the club, you can wine and dine lots of your, companies that you do business with, because you're a company that related to like hundreds or thousands of other companies. Then sponsors will want to come from them companies. If you've got a piece of this club, they'll want to come and sponsor it as well. And that big company, if it was Alphabet or Elon Musk, they can enhance their global brand by using the stadium, as a tool, as a facility to do that. But other than that, I mean, unless you're a rich state and you just want it as a trophy wife, right? Look at me, we own Tottenham Football Club, I can see that as an angle. But
let me come in. Here. To the best of my knowledge, and I try to do my homework before we went on air on this. I do not believe that either Vivian or Charlie Lewis have children. I tried to find out. I know that Vivian was married, but she's long divorced. And there's nothing very much about Charlie, but it did mention that they're going to be more involved, as well as, and it took me a while to work this out, Joe Lewis's step-grandson, which I'm assuming is his second wife's grandson. So there's no real inheritance issues to worry about. I was talking to my mum when I was down, well, it must have been for the weekend of the Burnley game, and the national lottery was like £200 million. And I'm not saying, it's just an absolute absurdity. What do you do with it? And I start saying, well, look, I'll buy myself a bigger house in Glasgow. I'll buy myself a house in Spain. I'll probably buy myself something in the Caribbean because that's nice for the winter months. Maybe buy myself something in North London, because then it's nice when I go down at Hotspur's games. And I've spent about £3.5 million of this 200. So I give the kids.
Buy Tom a pint.
I buy Tom a pint, fish and chips. You give the kids 20 million. You give the grandkids 10 million.
You're muted, Tom, I think.
My point I'm making is that I've just about managed to get rid of 60 or 70 million quid, and I've still got 130 million I don't know what to do with. That's 200 million. These people have, particularly if they haven't got kids, they've got £5,000 million. And they're in their 60s. So why would you not think, I can have quite a lot of fun? Because I get the impression, particularly Vivian, is very committed to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. There was another statement, actually, about how, I'm going to see if I can find it while someone else is talking, or maybe going through the chat, about how they're supporters of the club, which I've never really thought that they were.
They might have cousins and things like that. I mean, you're hoping they're going to be philanthropists, and they're going to either start up a foundation. They could start their own foundation, or do a Bill Gates one, or like you say, they could think, oh well, why not just throw it at the club, throw loads of money at the club. I get where you're coming from. It's possible, I suppose, but
they could spend £1 billion and still have £4 billion to fall back on for a rainy day. That's why, and £1 billion. They could create new shares in Tottenham of £1 billion.
They could clear the club debt with that, just over £1 billion.
They could clear the club debt, which would allow them, or to be honest with you, the club debt's at such low rates of interest that, and I think that's one of the issues, isn't it? That if the club is sold, the debt, it'll be part of the terms of the loan, that the debt has to be cleared, and then there'll be any new loans will be at more commercial rates of interest than they are now.
Yeah, and there could be penalties if you pay up early, because if you were paying over a certain amount of years, the banks would have earned X amount of interest. Now you're paying up early, we ain't getting any interest, so we want to split the difference, so as we get a bit more out of you. Yeah, that would all be negotiated, though, wouldn't it? So, yeah.
But to be honest, I feel like the repayments are so low. Yeah, the repayments are so low anyway. I
think the max is 2.75%. Some of the loans were about 1.5 up to 2.75. You wouldn't get that now. I mean, Man United couldn't go and build a stadium now.
But the repayments, what's the repayment each year? It's just over 10 million.
25, I think it's around about 25 28 million.
Yeah, which
Which a naming rights still would cover. A naming rights still would cover the interest.
But not even that. Like, just our general being as a club, we're paying that off pretty easily with, you know, ticket gate and stuff like that. But yeah, if someone actually does a naming rights deal, which that was another failure under Levy, unless it was a purposeful thing, then yeah, that will easily cover paying for that, and then that's you're saving yourself 25 million every single year for you know, the club to use for on the pitch and things like that.
What stymies us though, it's the stadium debt you can put to one side, but football related debt, right? Like that, the money owed on transfers, the money owed on agents' fees, the money owed on ex-managers. That once you take all the expenses off the club, the football related debt is what stymies you in the transfer market, which stops you from spending what you can. You know, our potential is if we had no club's got no transfer debt though. They've all got transfer debt.
No, exactly. I was going to say every club has transfer debt, but that's why you amortize it over so many years. Like, you know, you said earlier that, you know, we've just bought a bunch more players, so that's even more transfer debt. But that's for like not thinking that actually previous debt has now been paid, so that's gone, and you replace it with that. So, you know, but again, this is, you know, probably another sort of a little failure over the last 5 years and stuff of if we're still paying off failed managers, you know, that's terrible. If we've bought lots of players in for high fees and not sold them. Like, I'm not being funny, but even look at Basuma at the moment. He's clearly not wanted as part of this club. We bought him for what we thought was a really good price at the time, 25 million. And I think he's lived up to that price tag with some of his performances and stuff like that. You know, he's 25 million. You're not going to get much of a player for that much. But
hang on, Adrian. Go on, Tom.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, but it's now looking like that Basuma is another player that we bought for 25 million, and he's going to be going for nothing.
Yeah.
So you can't keep doing that and expect to be in a position of financial security. And if we were better at shipping players out for a fee, which hopefully this all improves by getting better players in and having a better squad, and then when you buy an even better player, the good players you had, other teams want. The problem is the players we've got, no one wants. We're trying to get rid of them rather than teams trying to take them from us, which is what kind of needs to change if you're going to be, you know, getting a decent fee in for them. And hopefully, if that starts changing then we can actually start spending the money that we're making.
Yeah, we're still under the old FFP financial fair play or PSR profit sustainability rules, which means you can lose £35 million a year for 3 years. That hasn't been changed. There's been talk of changing it. But say, for example, just to explain it to those that don't know, my understanding, I always stand to be corrected. If the club turned over that 500 million that other year, supposing all your football-related expenses were 300 million, right, and what you owe, you'd have 200 million left. You are now allowed to spend 80% of that. So you could then spend 160 million on players. That's the way it works, to my understanding. If anybody thinks I'm wrong, let me know, right? So, but I don't know how that works out from year to year over this 3 year period. It's still a bit complicated, and the league haven't sort of changed the rules yet as much as they would. I know in Europe they want to bring that down to 70% for all clubs, and if you're in a European competition, you've got to abide by that 70%, even if it's 80%. And so instead of us spending 160, you know, we'd only be able to spend 140 on players. Their rules are slightly different because they want clubs to go bust, which I'm all for, right? But yeah,
Adrian, let me bring this because I don't want to get too bogged down in numbers that we don't really know at the moment. But this is one of the quotes I was mentioning earlier. Source close to the Lewis family tells at Sky News, quote, generations of the Lewis family support this special football club, and they want what the fans want. More wins more often. This is why you have seen recent changes, new leadership, and a fresh approach. Now, I'm a little bit skeptical about this is what the Lewis family have always wanted, and they've always, supported the club and what have you. I don't know that Joe's ever been a massive football fan, but I get the impression that the offspring are. I do get the distinct impression, Tom, let's bring you in on this, that Vivian and Charlie are much, much more committed to seeing a successful team on the field.
Yeah, but I think that's probably because they're Joe Lewis obviously built his business up and he bought Tottenham as a way of making money, whereas they've kind of grown up as being part of Tottenham's foundation. So they're probably a bit more, feeling it in that way from a supporters thing. It might be a younger generational thing as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the proof is going to be in the pudding, right? We'll only know if that's true based on what happens over the next few years, really, or even next few months if it gets sold or anything like that as well. So, I think there's every chance. I mean, I saw a thing from like Football London, which is like Ali Gold's thing, where like, apparently, Vivian is at pretty much all of the home. She goes to all of the home games and is known around the club as Viv. So,
as Viv.
what that means, yeah. That clearly shows that she turns up and she knows the staff and she talks to them, everything like that. So, it would be great to just have the owners want to have even some success, not win everything every single year or anything like that, but just be like, come on, let's make sure that we're putting our name in the hat for the main titles every single year. Would be really refreshing to kind of put football first at a football club, which is not been the case for the last 24 years.
Adrian, this is, I mean, I think David's comment, I mean, let's be honest, I don't think anyone for a minute is suggesting that Levy's gone voluntarily. No. I mean, I think every indication are that he was called into the boardroom or whatever and told, look, sorry, Dan, you are leaving and you're leaving now. I mean, it's been pretty brutal the way this has been handled. There's no suggestion of his shares going. He's not on garden leave. No. He's just been punted.
This agreement must have happened earlier. I mean, he's like, people used to complain about he was earning 6 mil or then 3 mil during COVID. But look, players earn more than that. People in industry get more than that. But it was just another way to have a pop at him because they weren't happy with the way things were going on the footballing side. I think he was standing down. It's just like him coming out and doing the PR bit he was just fronting it up and bluffing it up, saying, "Oh, we want to win the Premier League and the Champions League after we won the Europa League." I think he knew he was going then, and because I think the Charrington and Catersham coming in. That told us all we needed to know. We were going to be, why are you bringing them in? If you're going to keep the same thing going on and on and on, why are you bringing them in? Why did Donna Cunningham go?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot. We won't ever find out, even if someone writes a book about it. which I certainly wouldn't buy. But I think this Levy knew this was coming.
Are there any other comments in the in the chat? I know a lot of you are watching on X.com, which I don't think you get to make comments on. We can't see them. If you
I think you can.
Can you? Well, how come we don't see them? Or we can't print them?
I just don't think anyone does.
Oh well, it might be. They're all bots watching. There's actually only 3 of us watching, 4 in the chat on YouTube, and 102 bots or something like that. Because we've been over 100 for a little while. But great, look, if you can get onto YouTube to watch the stream and make some comments, much rather have some more comments, particularly as to where this might be going.
And this is a good time for me to plug the channel because there's 106.
Go.
There's 106 of you viewing us on various platforms at this extra special show, which Ian insisted we do today. So we're all admins here, and so we all agreed. And our shows normally go out every Friday. Where Drew hosts on Friday, I co-host with him. Every Sunday, Ian hosts, and me and Tom are usually on. And Tuesdays during the Champions League, me and Tom will be hosting. I might be at games while he's hosting or whatever. So, at 10 o'clock, we do have a Facebook group with 14,500 members. That's starting to pick up a bit now. We've got an XCOM group, which a lot of you are watching from now, which has got about 3,280. That grew pretty quick. And if you want to come on the shows, all you need to do is message us through Facebook, XCOM, or whatever. We can add your phone numbers and we can add you to our WhatsApp group, which is where we draw our guests for. We use it as a sink to draw our guests. Yeah.
Can't help but laugh. I'm sorry.
Blaine, good friend of the show.
I love it.
Yeah. And guys, look, we are about 12 away from 1,500. We've only been going a year. We're a fledgling group. If you haven't subscribed to us, there is that little subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner, the red YouTube subscribe button. Only takes a second. Content's free we're bringing you. We're bringing you free content. I mean, you can become a member if you want. We have got memberships open, 3 types of membership if you want to become a member. But hit that subscribe button and give the channel a thumbs up because it helps the algorithm, helps us grow, helps us bring you even better content. And I want to thank everyone in the chat for their comments. Thank all of you viewing us on various platforms, and a big up to everyone who watches this show on playback. And back to you.
Brilliant. Yeah, we haven't finished yet, but I don't suppose we'll go on too long. The last thing I ever want to do is have a show that's waffling to just keep going. But I do have something that a mate of ours, Paul Kramer, has posted on the Diehards WhatsApp group. And that's from the Right Honourable David Lammy MP. If you're watching outside of the UK, he is a Member of Parliament for Tottenham, and I think he was a Foreign Secretary this morning, unless there's been a reshuffle that I missed. Daniel Levy's contribution to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club has been immense. There have been so many unforgettable moments and players over the last 25 years. The League Cup in 2008, Gareth Bale's heroics in our 3-1 win over Inter Milan, Harry Kane's 280 goals. We have, of course, been through thick and thin, but even throughout tumultuous times on the pitch, he delivered a world-class stadium for the fans and the constituency and transformed Tottenham into a global music destination, attracting artists from Beyonce to Kendrick Lamar. I'm just thinking there's a lot of people who say that's exactly what's been wrong, but there you go. He established the Tottenham Hotspur Foundation, which has been had a life-changing effect on people across our community, and now he departs with Spurs back in the Champions League with a Europa League trophy and an exciting new manager at the helm. I want to thank him for all that he has achieved for this corner of North London. His service to THFC and his constituency won't be forgotten. That was David Lammy. That was a nice tribute. Really was a nice tribute. So, Tom, let's just talk then. Levy's one of those people. Even his mother must have found him hard to love at some points, but
a bit harsh.
It is. I know. And for all that, I've never been a big Levy outer. I can't say he's ever been a human being I've warmed to. He's probably a very different kind of personality to mine. But Tom, any thoughts on the Levy legacy going forward?
Look, I think it's one that maybe in 5 or so years' time, depending on where this all goes, we'll look back on, and people will be grateful of what he did. Like he said it in that Gary Neville interview and stuff, that you know that he thinks he'll probably be appreciated a bit more once he's gone. Now, I don't think it's appreciated because it's not one of those things where like it's all going to be terrible and we're going to go, oh, I wish we had Levy back. But I think people will probably appreciate a little bit like the work that he done with the stadium and the training ground and all of those various things to bring in revenue. Look, if there's one thing that Daniel Levy got right, is he timed doing all of that to perfection. Like building the stadium when it got built, getting the training ground done when it got done. Like he couldn't have picked a better timing to get all of that done, because you look at, Everton have basically spent more on their stadium than what we did, and it's smaller and not as good as what ours is. United are looking at building a new stadium now that they're quoting is probably going to cost around about 3 billion. But Daniel Levy laughed his head off when he heard that and said you could probably double, if not triple that, if that's what they're thinking it's going to cost. So, look, I'm by no means a Daniel Levy lover in any way, shape, or form. In fact, there's many times where I've wanted him to go. I'm excited by this news that he has left, because I'm excited to see what it actually brings for the club. You know, weirdly, despite the fact that I'm younger than Daniel Levy, I never thought it would happen in my lifetime that he would be gone from Tottenham Hotspur. So, but yeah, look, I think maybe in 5 years' time, if Tottenham are winning titles, and it's because we have the best kind of, PSR and FFP and room to spend and stuff like that, then we'll all go, well, that's thanks to the work that Daniel Levy put in the first place. But I don't think anyone will look back fondly on him based on football. It'll all be based on stadium, and that's it, really.
I fully agree.
Adrian, I'm struggling to add much to that, but
I fully agree.
Go first.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. His legacy is the stadium, it's the training ground, it's the improvement on the women's team. None of that affects your PSR FAP. You can spend as much money on infrastructure which doesn't affect you on that. They've invested heavily. We don't know how. When I last looked 2 seasons ago, I think there was 14 companies on the financial report, and whatever those companies earn, if they're part of Spurs, then any profits they make, I think 2 of them weren't trading, but any profits they make have to come back into this football club. But money has obviously been taken out of the football club through these companies to buy land and property as well. How much, I don't know. Never got into the nitty-gritty of that. So, but that's just equity the club owns. It's not stolen, because that would be fraud. Everything in that financial report has to be there, has to be correct. They'll have the right team of accountants to keep the taxes down and all that. But yeah, so I think there's still a lot more building work to go on. But if it's through the club, through the companies that the club owns, then obviously any profits that's made on those buildings will come to Spurs, will have to come into the football club and be spent on whatever to do with the football club.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to add. Adrian was as well on Sean's Spurs talk. What's it called?
Spurs Talk Show.
This was Spurs Talk Show. Yeah, I'm getting tired now. Spurs Talk Show, and I said exactly what Tom said. I think now is not the time to remember Levy. He's not dead, but to consider his legacy. I think 5 years' time will be the right time. That whether it's the Lewis family, Tavistock, take it to another level, or they're selling a minority stake, or if they're selling a majority stake, that the time to judge will be in 5 years' time. I said on last week's show, I thought the squad we had was being geared that we would be in position to really challenge for the title in about 2027, 28 or 28, 29. That's where I think that we're headed. And that's probably around by the end of the decade that one can really, I think, appreciate or not appreciate the extent to which Levy has succeeded or failed. But I don't know if anyone in the chat has got any more. I know Adrian did I won't talk about potential takeovers at this point, because until we actually know any more. But Adrian, you posed this as a question earlier. Is this the hope now that particularly come January, there was already talk that we've got money available to bring Savio in and maybe another couple in January? Is this what your hope is for the club going forward?
I think it's what the fan base is hoping in general, basically. I mean, all fans want clubs to spend money. I mean, obviously you've got to have the money to spend, and you don't. The problem is if you haven't got the cash flow, you don't want to borrow the money, because now if you buy a player for 60 million, you've borrowed the money off the bank on interest as well. That player's cost you a lot more by the time you've paid that off over 3 years or 5 years of his contract. So it's cost you even more. But yeah, I mean, we've done some excellent work in this transfer window, even though, like, you know, we've stuttered, right, badly with a couple of deals and wasted time, which, fun enough, it seems to have worked in our favour in the end, although we could still do, we all think we could do another 2-3 players, right? But it looks like, if we believe the rumours of some sort of investment, then, like, we spent on average, I think, about 136 million in this window with sales of like Sonny and the Højbjerg sale and things like that. So it looks like that we could go big in January if we want to. And you're talking about, if we have got a rumoured 70 mil left or whatever it is, you can put 35 mil down on 2 players or 20 mil down on 3 players. So you're not paying it all up at once. This is where fans fall into the trap. They think, 60 million a player, you're paying it straight off. You don't. It's amortised. Some clubs will insist it's paid over 3 years. Other times it's over the 5 years. It can't be paid longer than that, though. That's a rule. Mm-hmm. So I think we will be prepared to go in for players early in January, because you've only got a month to do that deal. And whether it's Aklayush a winger, or Fofana a winger, or whether it's Lookman, or whether it's back in for Savina again, not Silvinho, but Savino. Then,
really was the Albanian manager.
I'm really optimistic. I'm optimistic also based on the fact that Decky will be back by then, right? You know, we don't know what we're going to see, what we're going to get from Takai or even Dragerson, because that was mixed performances we've seen from him. But I think we'll have money to spend in January. Will we spend it? I think we will, actually. I think we will.
Closing thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's another one. Time will tell, won't it? Because this will, the next couple of, like, say there is no investment that comes in, or there's no sale of the club or anything like that. Say it is literally, okay, Levy's gone, but with new people in place, Lewis family are still owning the club, yada, yada, yada. The next few windows will show whether or not the Night Eater will show whether or not the lack of spending was a Lewis issue or a Levy issue. Because if nothing really changes, then we know that actually, well, Levy wasn't really the person who was keeping the purse strings tight. It was actually ENIC and the Lewis family. But if all of a sudden things change and we start splashing the money that, you know, with the wiggle room we have with PSR, you know, we've given ourselves such a big advantage over all of the other teams in terms of PSR and things like that, and we just don't capitalize on it. And we've always, and it's been said, well, that's because we although we have that wiggle room, we don't necessarily have that cash. But then you look at the cash in the bank that each club has, and we're always at the top of it. So we're more cash rich than every other club. Yeah. We have more wiggle room in PSR, and yet we don't capitalize on the advantage that all of the infrastructure that's been put in place by Levy and ENIC has given us. So I think we'll really tell over the next few windows whether or not it was a Levy thing or is it an ENIC thing. But we might not get that opportunity based on, you know, whether or not there's a minority, you know, takeover or full takeover or whatever it might be that happens over the next few months. Whether or not January is the most sensible time to do transfer dealings, I don't know. But I think they'll definitely go back in for Savino because it's clear that that's the player that they wanted. So I think they'll definitely go back in for him. But I think next summer's transfer window will be the one. That'll be the one where you'll really see if anything's actually changed.
What I would say to like the 110 of you viewing us here and those in the chat is that, look, don't panic now if nothing happens in a few days or the weeks ahead, because the one thing that stares us in the face is the transfer window is shut. We can't buy anyone, and we've got 4 months till January, and we're going to earn money for 8 games of Champions League before then. We're going to earn a small fortune, like in those 4 months. It's like, you know, nearly half the season where we're earning like 500 million a year, right? So we're going to earn a fortune in money before we even get round to January, right? And we can't spend any money to January, and that's if we spend in January. If we don't or don't spend much, time we get round to summer, you know, we should have money pouring out of this club. to buy a player.
I need to comment on that, David. The Lewis isn't controlling the money. Lewis is no longer controlling the trust.
In trust,
the money's all in the trust, and it's being run by the kids. Joe Lewis doesn't determine what money's spent now.
And I think that is the kicker in all of this happening, right?
Absolutely right.
Joe and Levy were like that. They're like best buds, weren't they? So I think even aren't they?
There's no relationship between them.
There's no relationship, but there's I don't know.
People talk about it.
Yeah, but they were best buds.
Close.
And now that it's no small coincidence that since it got put into a trust, all of a sudden you've seen all of these changes kind of happening, and Levy now has been quite seemingly abruptly booted out. I have a question for you two though. Do you think this was the plan from when Charrington and Vinay came in and Cullen got dropped out, or do you think that how this transfer window went ultimately sealed Levy's fate with the fuck ups with Morgan Gibbs-White and Eze and things like that? Because the reason why I ask is because the Gary Neville interview took place during the transfer window, and Levy stated within that interview, I still am involved in the transfer dealings. So that was him basically saying that he's still involved in that. Do you think that it went obviously not great with the transfer window, and that was enough for them to be like, look, we've given you a chance, it's still the same old chairman? There's actual chairmans of other club coming out and being vocal about how they do not want to deal with you. It just needs to change now.
I think it goes back further than that, but I could be wrong. This is my take, and it could be that what you suggest, Tom. But my think is when Donna Cullen wanted to retire last year, and Levy's virtually hanging on to her skirt, saying, "Oh look, stay for the season," and she stayed and just recently gone. I think the writing was on the wall. I mean, how much was Levy? How much was Venkatesham a Levy appointment? And how much was Charrington because he's out in the Bahamas with Vivian Lewis? We know that's come from there. Right? So he's on the board because of Vivian Lewis, right? And then like Vinay comes in. No, I think it goes back further. I think the writing's on the wall. I don't think it would just be suddenly, because you didn't get the Eze deal done, we want you out. But you know,
so, I mean, the reason why I asked. I was going to say the reason why I asked the question is because if it was already that he wasn't, he was going and actually he didn't really have any involvement in this transfer window, then is that not a concern kind of moving forward with how this transfer window kind of went? If Levy had nothing to do with this transfer window, which is not the impression that he gave during that interview with Gary Neville, then that is where I have maybe a slight concern moving forward. But Ian, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I mean that's what really was the way I was sort of putting this show together. I think that when you look back on it, when the fact that Vinay came in, the fact that Charrington came in, these were clearly Tavistock, Tavistock appointments in which particularly I think Viv, and we all call her Viv now, do we? Was getting very much to the forefront. What no one knew was whether that was to try and get the lead, because there was talk of two things: either that they were going to be using Charrington to sell off the Tavistock Enoch shareholding, or they were going to find ways of the family investing more heavily in the club, whether that meant diluting other shareholders or whatever. And I think that the transfer window probably was the straw that broke the camel's back. I think Levy's days have been numbered for a while. Now that you look back on it, with retrospect, I think his days have been numbered probably since the early part of the year. And I think the winning of the trophy, I think, helped and what have you. But I think more and more, and I suspect the Eze thing, where we and ahed, and he did what Levy does. He procrastinates and eventually misses the target, was probably saying, look, we can't run a business like this. And that's what I suspect. Because there's other competent people. If anyone hasn't seen that interview with Johan Lange talking about the transfers and what have you, I can't even remember what forum it was, whether it was on the Club Zone channel or whatever. 20 minutes of your time, well worth it to see that. And you look at someone like Vinay, who's one of the most respected people in the football industry, coming into the club, who's now going to be the CEO. I think the more you look at it, I think that bit by bit Levy was going to be marginalised. But that the failures in the transfer market, particularly with Eze, was the straw that broke the camel's back. That's what I'm picking up as I was putting the show together fairly late and re-looking at the evidence. That's where the evidence was taking me.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, to be honest with you. That's the impression that I got, and that's what gives me a bit of positivity and hope that, transfer windows moving forward will be, hopefully a bit more make more sense. Like, this transfer window didn't make any sense, did it? Like, we've going for Morgan Gibbs White, that all went Pete Tong, and then it's like, well, let's not do anything for 3 weeks. Oh, let's go get Eze, and then we'll sit on that for 2 weeks. Oh, we haven't got him. Oh God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Panic. Oh, Simmons is now available. Great, let's get him. I mean, that is the luckiest bit of thing ever, because I think Simmons is gonna be and is better, way better than both Morgan Gibbs White and Eze. So that's kind of worked out, but that's luck. That's not anything with that. That's complete luck. So I'm quite positive that things will move in a good direction. I don't know if any of you two know anything about, I know, just on developments and stuff, anything about that. A question from someone in the chat.
They've got union permission. There was a protest movement, and they failed. I don't know if they've exhausted everything by appealing to the environment.
Callum would probably know more about that.
Yeah,
maybe worth.
It's going ahead. It's going ahead.
Yeah, I know there's been because it was basically the council of I don't know, stuff like leasing it to the club or something like that, or there needed to be certain things done. And now it's just it's all a bit weird and up in the air. All I can tell you is that White Webb's golf course was absolutely terrible when I played it. So good riddance.
That's because you're a terrible player like me.
Well, my 8 handicap would suggest different, but
it would actually. Yeah.
Adrian, are you doing a show tomorrow?
Drew's doing a show tomorrow at 10 o'clock, same usual time we go out.
Okay. I'm not doing a show Sunday unless, because we weren't doing a show tonight.
And I won't be doing a show Tuesday, the usual Tuesday show, because I'm not doing a show if there's nothing interesting.
So we're bought out by the Malaysians or something like that.
Obviously, the Friday after, when the games start coming again, every 3 days, you'll have your regular shows 3 a week. And perhaps the odd one thrown in like this if we get a PR blunder from the club or something, So
the post West Ham game, I'm going. Oh, David, you're always a bundle of laughs, mate.
That's David.
Mark Twain, I think got a monopoly on that one.
Samuel Clemens,
Seriously, Tom, I can't do the show. I've got going to Northern Seoul weekend on the Sunday, Monday at the Benidorm Palace. So I will not be doing a show. At least I'm highly unlikely to be doing a show a week on Sunday. Do you want to host it?
Yeah, absolutely. If I should be around for that.
It's the West Ham, the day after the West Ham game's on the Saturday afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah. Ironically, I'm probably going to miss the game because I'll be at my daughter's birthday party.
Well, I'll host if you don't, or I'll co-host with you. Or
no,
whatever.
it's fine. I'm happy to host the Sunday show.
Yeah, good.
All right.
You're hosting.
Okay, look, thanks. We've been a good number over 100 since for most of the last hour. So thank you for tuning into this very, very late organised show. I know we're on with Last Word on Spurs is on at the same time as well, so it always affects our numbers when a big show like that goes. But Tom, thank you for joining us tonight, and for your work putting this together, and you, Adrian, for putting the show together. Back tomorrow, 10 o'clock tomorrow night. I may or may not be on. I'll probably leave it to others. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Please like, please subscribe, and as ever, come on, you Spurs.
Play a bit.
We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die hearts, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die hearts, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die hearts, heart and soul. Navy blue. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die hearts, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue.